We all have attachments, links that sometimes can't be broken even if you try to rip them apart. Sometimes it's a good thing, but sometimes it could be the worst thing for a person. We have attachments to friends, lovers, families, animals, anything really. But when it comes to personal attachments to people, we enter strong connections with them. In Links, we get to see this at work with the different couples that are showcased. Links is by Natsuki Kuzi, the author of Given, and in one of my previous videos, I go over the message of Given and how moving on can be the most painful process to go through. But in Links, Natsuki Kuzi takes a different approach to relationships and shows us what having a link to a person means and how it can affect us greatly, whether it be good or bad. Attachments can be so strong that even when we move on, they can stay with us, haunting us like a ghost. Even if we try to leave behind someone, the link we have with them sometimes never truly goes away. When we go through a breakup, we can sometimes find ourselves still with the link to that person, and it causes us to stay in place. One of the couples in Links goes through a similar process, but it was with a family member. Sato lost his brother in an accident in high school, and the other person involved was Nakajo. Due to that, they were bound to each other. Their relationship was rough at the start because neither knew why the other was drawn to the opposing person. Nakajo thought it was because Sato hated him for surviving the accident, but the anger they felt for each other soon turned to lust because they both couldn't admit how they felt. Each of them thought that they couldn't have each other, and so they were mad at how they felt and mad at how they thought the other person felt, which made them kind of crave each other even more. And that craving just turned into a lust for each other instead of love. The love wasn't able to grow because of the thoughts they kept putting in each other's heads, thinking that they'll never be able to have each other because of the link that they have for each other. The link that was Sato's brother dying in the accident and Nakajo surviving. That's how that attachment to each other started. There is one of many quotes within Links that really resonated and really stuck with me. And one of them being, no matter who they are, everyone is bound or held bound together by it, like a curse, like a wound, like chains. And that's something that really kind of was like, whoa, like that's kind of like deep, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of examples of that within Links, and this was just one of them, because it's like attachments are something for us that really could make or break a person, because having an attachment to someone could be like how I said earlier, like it could be a great thing or it could be a very bad toxic thing, and we're all bound together by them. And even if it's good, you can still consider like an attachment like a curse, like a wound, and it's like we're bound by that. Like the attachment is like chains, and we're just tied together by it. And it could be a wound because if you ever gotten your heart broken or something like that, then it's like a wound that stays with you. Like that attachment to that person stays, that link to the person stays. Sometimes it can be hard to form new bonds or grow them because as humans we get attached too easily. Sometimes it stems from childhood traumas, so we attach ourselves to people who show us love because we never experienced that type of love before. So we rush into it and end up going too fast to the point where everything isn't falling into place anymore. At the start everything was great, but it slowly got too much and fell apart. And I will say that I have been a victim to this many times before, or at least a few different times, where I was just jumping into something because feeling that like affection from another person is like everybody wants that affection from another person, that attention from another person. And sometimes we throw ourselves into things not realizing that it's not love, it's just you crave that affection and attention from that other person. And it's hard to admit that to yourself because you want that to stay. But then once things stop falling into place the way you thought they were, and things start to change, and you start to realize, like, man, like, this isn't love. Like, I'm craving the affection and attention from this person, and I just want that attachment with that person. And the same can be said for the other person that you're dealing with, not realizing things either. And even if it wasn't you two craving it, and it was a genuine attraction toward each other, and you're trying to kind of take those next steps, what sometimes happens is that you rush too quick into a relationship, and you're just diving in head first, and you're not taking the time to slow down and really get to know each other, and really just spend time with each other and vibe with each other. And eventually it starts to fall apart because you were rushing the process too quick. And so you rush through like the honeymoon stage, and you're rushing through the processes of everything, of taking it slow, and you're just going with it, and it kind of just falls apart. And it ties into another quote, and another one of the couples that are in the story. And the other couple was Kameda and Ogikawa. They met because they just met randomly, and they kind of hung out like every day, just having dinner together and playing with the cat that they pretty much rescued. And it was such a good example of what it is to just take things slow. And my favorite quote probably throughout this whole series comes at the end of one of the chapters for them, and it was, "There is no rush, let's take it easy and fall in love nice and slow." And their relationship together was like the definition of what it is to kind of take things nice and slow, because they didn't even necessarily call it love. And the way they acted with each other, you can tell that they had an attraction to each other and tell that they liked each other, but it's like they weren't in any rush to like throw a label on it or slap a label on it. They weren't in any rush to kind of take those next steps. Like, they were just spending time with each other and enjoying each other's company. And that's one of the biggest things that, like, I feel me and a lot of people can relate to, and a lot of people need to do, is just kind of like, sometimes it's just best if you just spend time with that person, not really worried about everything that comes after. Because if you have feelings for each other, and you feel for each other, and you guys know where you're both at, then it's like, oh, I know how you feel, you know how I feel, so like, it's fine. Like, who cares if we don't have like that label of being, in a relationship together and being partners together or whatever. And it showed that, because it's like, oh, like, let's just fall in love nice and slow. Like, there's no rush. Like, I like you, you like me, like, we'll get there. And if we don't, then it just wasn't meant to be in the end. And that just like really stuck with me, And at the end of the book, because it's a one-shot manga, so there's only one volume, if you don't know that already, there's another quote that they kind of ended off of, and it's pretty much just goes, "Everyone longs for it, prays for it, so that all the wounds may close and old memories be laid to rest." Now, I think that one for me really hit close to home because of what that really means. And what it really means is that we all just crave an attachment to somebody. Something good, something healthy, something nice, something loving. Because at the end of the day, we want to get rid of whatever bad memories we had with another person who we had an attachment to. And yeah, attachments don't stay forever. You can let go of those attachments that you had to past people. And I feel like that's just why we long for it so, and attachment so much, because the minute we start having an attachment to someone, and the minute that we gain that attachment to somebody, that past attachment kind of leaves in a sense. And if you truly have a genuine link with this person, that past relationship or past attachment that you had with the previous person will be laid to rest forever, so to speak. Like, you'll probably still have some of those traumas that you have to work up to get over, and some of those like bad memories that you have to kind of still work towards getting over, but for the most part, like, you'll be in a process where, like, you're finally letting it go and you're laying that ghost to rest. And that's just something that I personally, like, can resonate with, because, you know, I've been in relationships where, like, they've messed me up and stuff like that, and, like, you know, it's hard, it's, you know, all that trauma that you deal with emotionally and mentally, and the strain that it takes on you, like, it's a heavy weight on your shoulders, and you get to a point where it's like you try so hard to get rid of that, and you keep going after person after person after person, because you're trying to find somebody who's just gonna, like, hold you so that you can get rid of all of that. You want someone to stay so that you can get rid of all that. And sometimes you have to be careful with that, because you can end up hurting somebody, because you think that, like, you like that person, but then what you're doing is that you're just trying to replace, you're trying to find an escape, and that's not healthy. It's not a healthy attachment. It's not a healthy link to a person. It's not a healthy way to be with somebody. The best way to be with somebody is to be able to get over everything not beforehand, but to be able to realize that, like, I'm not perfect and I'm still kind of hurt from previous attachments and previous relationships, but I'm in the right mindset to be able to be with this person right here, and then continue healing and continue being in that process of healing while being with this person, because we're both probably healing from something. Everybody's always healing from things. You know, there's always things that we're healing from inside, and sometimes we get to a point where it's like, oh, I'm ready for this, but, like, I know in the back of my mind there's still things that I'm healing from, but, like, maybe we could heal together or something like that. So that's kind of just what I got out of Links and the whole thing with, like, attachments and stuff like that, because I think the author did a very good job with kind of talking about attachments and talking about links and, like, why we want attachment and why we crave that, and just kind of showing you, like, the difference between, like, a good attachment and using, like, the Sato case, and then having, like, a good attachment. So that's just my take on it. I think he did a really good job with Links and Given. Obviously I did another video on Given, but that is all I have for this video. Like, subscribe for more content like this, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.